All right. Thanks everybody for joining. Wow, this is filling up really fast. Awesome to see folks ready to go and hear from these amazing states that will be talking and sharing about their work today. My name's David Donaldson with the National Center for Grow Your Own. I'm excited to have you all with us today. I'm actually coming live from DC, and so want to say to everybody, happy National Apprenticeship Day. This is like the geeky Christmas morning for us in this world. And so really excited that folks here will get to hear from six amazing states and the innovation that is taking place in each of their states in the registered apprenticeship work. Um, Ben, if we want to go ahead and just show the slides really quick. So Ben on my team and Carla and many others, we're all part of the National Center for Grow Your Own, where our goal is to create a world where you can become a teacher for free and get paid to do so. We're a 501c3 not-for-profit. Ben, Miles, and I came from the Tennessee Department of Education, where we had the honor and privilege to create the first ever registered apprenticeship in teaching. And now our honor and privilege is to work with the states you're about to hear from today, how they've taken this work and just completely innovated it, adapted it to their local context, and just taken it farther than we could have ever imagined. So we have a pretty cool job. We get to be Oprah every day and say, you get to be a teacher, you get to be a teacher. And it's because of the states that you're going to hear from today. One of the things that's cool about these six states that are presenting, along with many, many others, as you can see on this map, is back in August of 2022, which is, gosh, it seems crazy that we've been around over 3 years because it seems sometimes like 3 weeks. But in August of 2022, we launched the National Registered Apprenticeship and Teaching State Network with 7 states. Now, as you can see, we have quite a few more states than that, as well as Washington, D.C. and Department of Defense education activity. This group meets once a month, typically once a month, to learn from one another. So every session, all sessions, first off, are off the record. So folks can actually share and ask the tough questions. Or like, why did you do this? Why did you do that? But every session, we have a different state present on their work because no matter who you are, you can learn something from everybody. You can learn what to do, what not to do. But what I really admire about this network is that the leaders and all the folks on this call today are their states participate in this network. What I admire is their willingness to, like, oftentimes they're the only person in their state or one of two or three that were leading this work. And so who did they have to turn to? Well, now we've built this network where you can turn to your peers. And so if you're a state education leader out there or a district leader, because we have a separate district network, please feel free. We'll put in the chat a link to sign up for this if interested. It can fit any budget actually because it's free. And I don't know about you all, but if it's free, it's for me. And so just really grateful for the community that's been built through this network. And you're about to hear some of the really cool innovations from some of the states in this network later today in this webinar. Speaking of hearing from amazing states, we will be hosting with our friends at NASDAQ the 3rd annual national convening on registered apprenticeships and teaching, January 28th to the 30th. The reason we bring this up is because we are now accepting proposals through the end of May. So if you are a state or district or other entity interested in presenting about your registered apprenticeship in teaching or principalship or pre-apprenticeships, whatever it may be in the K-12 education teaching world, please feel free to submit a proposal and we look forward to it. I know all these states will hopefully be presenting just like they did this past year. And so we're excited to expand it to 400 people too, because it's sold out the last 2 years. So we're excited to continue to grow. And some other exciting news. I think it was actually yesterday. They just named the new 2025 National Teacher of the Year. Well, we have a special place in our heart for the one the 2024 Missy Testerman, who actually went through a grow your own type program that we had created back in Tennessee. And she will actually be joining our team in July of this year. Really grateful to have her. And then also, Dr. Lisa Barron, we're pleased to announce, will be joining our team in July as well. Lisa Barron is the Dean of Austin Peay State, which is actually the first university to ever in the nation to have a registered apprenticeship for teaching. And so some of the work, and you're going to, I don't want to take away any of Arkansas's thunder, but some of the work that we're getting into is helping states and districts become their own EPPs, and you'll hear more about that probably later today, while we're also actually becoming our own EPP to offer an option to our state and district partners to have a high quality, low cost option, of which Missy and Lisa will both be working on those initiatives. And we also recently acquired a company called Subschool, which is professional development for substitute teachers, who a third of all subs desire to become a full-time teacher. And so Missy and Lisa will also be working on curriculum like on that, because who wouldn't want to be taught ESL or get PD if you're a sub from the National Teacher of the Year or from a national leader in Ed Prep. So we're very grateful to have Missy and Lisa joining our team. And I think final thing that I have to share, I believe, before we get into what you all are here for, next month we'll have a webinar in May led by Ashley Osborne on our team around strategic school staffing. I don't want to take away from North Dakota's thunder, but you're going to hear some cool stuff from our dear friend Lori Matsky today and their partnership with Arizona State. But we will be having Arizona State's Next Education Workforce Initiative and Public Impacts Opportunity Culture featured in a webinar we're having about how strategic school staffing and some pretty cool news you'll hear from Lori later around new occupations and registered apprenticeship, how it could all blend and work together. And a lot of these links are being put in the chat for everybody. If you want to register for a webinar, if you want to sign up for our state or district network, whatever it may be, we're here to help. We're here to serve. One other thing I'd add about the sub-school thing is a special bonus for anybody attending today is that if you're interested in getting a 2-week unlimited demo license so you can test out all the modules on that. Carla just put in the chat the email address for that. So please feel free to email there. And we're providing anybody with unlimited access for a 2-week period to test it out to see if it's something that your state or district could be interested in. All right. And so again, so excited for everybody to be here today. I can't say enough good things about what's happening in Alaska, Arkansas, Connecticut, Nebraska, North Dakota, and Virginia. As somebody who's worked in education for almost 20 years, as a teacher, as a principal, as the head of talent at a district, at a state, I love to learn. And being able to learn from Connecticut, from North Dakota, and from the other 4 states that you're going to hear from today has been one of my greatest professional privileges. Because for me too, sometimes I think Alaska will always be the one that I think about when we visited back in February of last year. There's so many things I thought I knew that were completely tested by visiting there and understanding different situation, different contexts. What would you do in this situation? And so I just can't speak highly enough about the folks you're going to hear from today and how they have had to take different models, blend it into their local context, the cultural context that they serve, and what they've come up with is nothing short of amazing. So with that said, Ben, let's go ahead and start with Alaska. So I'm so excited to kick it off over to my dear friend. And one of my greatest things I'll say about Kelly is if you don't know about raspberry soda, it is one of the greatest things exports from Alaska that I've ever seen. So with that, Kelly, let me turn it over to you.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having us present from Alaska. I'm Kelly Manning. I'm our Deputy Director for the Division of Innovation and Education Excellence at the Department of Education, and that's where our statewide registered apprenticeship program lives. And I first just want to thank the National Center for Grow Your Own. David spoke about how much he's learning from everyone, and just the support of the National Center for Grow Your Own has been so helpful for Alaska in developing our program, and their willingness to share their expertise and come along with us as we define things for Alaska in our unique context. And I also want to just note our team here in Alaska. So there's myself and then Dr. Monica Goyette, who is a special projects coordinator for our commissioner's office, and then Nicole Thompson, who we're thrilled to have as our program coordinator for apprenticeship for the state. So we're a small team, but I know from looking at the attendees that some of the fantastic stakeholders and partners that we're working with are on the call or on the line today. And we wouldn't have been able to get to where we are today without all of our partners in the state, our university partners, the tribes that we work with, and our other education partner programs. So we'll go to the next slide. And I like to share this graphic for Alaska. I appreciate David talking about our raspberry soda, but I also love to share just some interesting facts about Alaska. One is, as you can see, when you lay Alaska over the rest of what we call the lower 48 from Alaska, you can see that our southeast Alaska touches almost Florida. The Aleutian Islands reach out to California, and the north slope of Alaska, if you lay it across, is touching up to the Great Lakes. So it really is a very large state, and yet we have a small population. So we average roughly one person per square mile, which is one of my favorite facts about Alaska. And so, it is a context that's a little bit different than when we're looking at other states. The other thing that I think is really important to note is that Alaska has 229 federally recognized tribes. So cultural competence is going to be one of our core areas that we want to talk about. Cultural competence for Alaska is central. We have 40% of the federally recognized tribes in the United States. Culturally relevant education is a core component of our state standards for educators. And as we worked with all of the stakeholders in the development of our program, we really wanted to center cultural competence. So one of the things that we've done is worked really closely with tribal education organizations, tribes around the state, in looking at our standards and how can we make the evaluation of cultural competence really meaningful and ensure that we have that success in our implementation of our program, that we are embedding that. Our university partners have fantastic course offerings to support that. We have statewide courses to support educators, and we really wanted to make sure that that was equally embedded in the evaluation of our apprentices in the mentorship component. So two things that we prioritized in the development of our program was first to have a opportunity for the tribes to support districts in the development of how they're going to evaluate that. So in our application for districts, as they're coming under our sponsorship, we ask that they consult with their local tribes, in particular on the cultural competence and how they're going to evaluate that, either local or regional, recognizing that we have a unique context. And then the other piece to that with our cultural competence, we wanted to require a portfolio process. So instead of having it measured in the same ways and running the risk of the evaluation of cultural competence becoming a check off, and this really came from our tribal partners that shared, often the mentor is not of the local cultural context, they're not of a local cultural tribe. How are they going to effectively evaluate the competence when that may not be a context that they have a deep grounding in? And so really thinking about that in more of a reciprocal relationship, having a portfolio for that educator to reflect their cultural competence, having the mentor really bring that understanding of the pedagogy of incorporating cultural competence into your teaching, where the apprentice that may be coming from that local tribe might bring more of a deep understanding of the local culture. So creating more of a reciprocal relationship that leads to a portfolio for that educator by the time they complete their program. And so these were some of the ways that we looked at in embedding that, working really closely with those partners and how to do that in a meaningful way. And we are piloting this spring. And so as we continue our pilot, we're continuing to evaluate and look at how we can strengthen this piece for Alaska and make sure that we're grounded in that local context. We can go to the next slide. So the other piece, our turnover in Alaska is acute, more acute than average in the nation. So for our most rural remote districts, those ones out in the Aleutian Islands and Western Alaska, where they're hard to reach places, often not accessible by road, only by plane, or sometimes not even. Depending on weather. And in those most rural remote areas, we have a 31% teacher turnover rate. Our state average is 21%. So addressing teacher turnover is something that we're really focused on as we look at our principal apprenticeship pathway. So we're working on the development of that. National Center for Grow Your Own has been a great support. And I have to call out North Dakota and Lori Matsky because they've come and shared their expertise from having led the way in that path. For Alaska, as we look to build this, this graphic here shares, we did a teacher retention recruitment work study. We identified 6 core areas for the state that we could target for improving teacher retention. And one of those core areas was around developing leadership. As we look at our principal apprenticeship pathway, we've really been thinking about how can this pathway not just create another path to principal leadership positions, especially since that is another area that's very acute turnover for Alaska, but also build that competence in retention. And so in looking at our principal pathway, we're looking at that culturally competent leadership, but we also are looking at how can we build in that retention strategy into the principal pathway. So we're very excited about this as a path that we're exploring with our partners as we develop our principal apprenticeship pathway. And again, just want to just cannot speak highly enough of the support that we've gotten from other states, from the National Center for Grow Your Own, from our partners around the state of Alaska, in really thinking about how we can take the models that have been developed. There's so many great things happening in apprenticeship, and then how do we make that work for our local context and on our unique state. So that's what I have, and I will hand off. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Kelly, for sharing. And I think on behalf of us and many other states, we're grateful for what we've learned from Alaska as well on this work. Thanks to you, Monica, Nicole, Colleen, and Commissioner Bishop. So we send our regards to you all. And as the only person that I believe on this call that would have said good morning as you greeted, everyone else will be good afternoon as we move forward. I also just want to quickly, before we jump to Arkansas, say shout out to the United States Department of Labor. I see quite a few folks from DOL on this call. Happy National Apprenticeship Day to you all, as well as to our state apprenticeship agency friends. And as Kelly mentioned, and as we shared with the map of the state network, yes, we have 6 states featured here today, but the network, makes up 40, I think 6 states we have now. It's crazy. So I do just want to acknowledge, I see our friends from DC, Vermont, Arizona, Colorado, Tennessee, Georgia, and Louisiana on this call. And just shout out to all. I will always have a special place in my heart for state education agency folks. And so just want to acknowledge incredible work happening in all those states as well. And wouldn't be possible without our partnerships with the U.S. Department of Labor and state apprenticeship agencies. And so with that said, speaking of great partnerships, excited to turn it over to Arkansas Department of Education and some really cool, innovative work happening. So Lisa, I'll turn it over to you. And Lisa did mention she might be having technical difficulties.
You're on mute, Lisa. Was user error.
Oh, there we go. I see you, Lisa. Good to see you. I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, sorry about that. So good afternoon, everybody. I'm Lisa Tyler, and I'm the State Apprenticeship Specialist for the Arkansas Department of Education. And we're also very grateful for all the support that we have received from the National Center for Grow Your Own, our other partners in the state. And then we've learned from many of you just going to conferences and sitting in on webinars like this and reviewing your information. So it's all helped us really grow the program that we have. So appreciate that. And I want to also thank the partners that I work with. I have their information on my last slide. So I'll talk about that in just a few minutes. You can go ahead to the next slide, please, Miles. So the thing that I wanted to start with is just why we developed our special education registered teacher apprenticeship. And it's a little bit different from our K-12 teacher apprenticeship. We've only had, this is our second year for our teacher apprenticeship, and it's our first year for our special education teacher apprenticeship. In fact, we just launched in January, and we have 3 districts participating, and we have 8 apprentices and 6 journey workers who are supporting them. But the reason that we really thought it was important to develop a separate apprenticeship for special ed is because we have a great need in our state, just like many of you. This shows a map of Arkansas, and you can see those darker areas are the areas of our state with the highest needs in terms of special ed. Statewide, we have about a 16% gap on average between the number of teachers, special ed teachers who are needed to fill positions in Arkansas, and the number of licensed teachers who are actually in those positions. And that gap is for many reasons, but those blue areas of our state that you're seeing, and those are the areas we're really trying to attract to the apprenticeship, there could be a 50% difference or a 60% difference. Some of those districts might not have one licensed special education teacher. And it's not that we don't have enough people who are licensed in special ed in our state. It's that we don't have enough licensed people in those positions who want to teach special ed and stay in those positions. We are hoping the apprenticeship is one great step forward. These people are in the community, they work in the school, they're invested in the school, they may have kids that go there, grandchildren. We hope that they're so well supported with all of the infrastructure that we're building, and they're invested in their school and they stay in those positions. So that's why we're concentrating on special education, and the apprenticeship was the pathway that we thought would get us the furthest. Go ahead to the next slide. So I included this slide because we wanted to highlight a little bit what's going on in our state. That you'll have the slides, but the link at the top is a video that we developed that really explains the K-12 special ed apprenticeship in a nutshell. It's about a minute or a minute and a half. It talks about all the components, and we use that to recruit. We use it for informational purposes. We use it to promote our apprenticeship. And so we're happy for you to look at that. That picture on this slide is a picture of one of our apprentices, our special ed apprentice that just began in January, and a high school student that he's working on. One of the curriculum pieces that we offer is the letters program through Lexia. You guys are probably all familiar with that. And so this gentleman is taking what he's learning in Lexia at a more elementary level and transferring that to work with this high school student. And it's just so inspiring to hear about the progress that this young man is making. So we're excited about that. Go ahead, Carla. Or Miles, sorry. So the key components of our apprenticeship, those words in green font, I put them in green so that you can see those are the differences between our new special ed apprenticeship and our existing Arkansas K-12 teacher apprenticeship. So for one thing, our special ed apprenticeship is a 3-year competency-based apprenticeship, where our K-12 is up to 4 years. The second major difference is that we are looking for people who already have a bachelor's degree. And when I first started this work, I was afraid we wouldn't have anybody. We start talking to administrators around the state about our apprenticeship and the qualifications, and they might not even know they had these people until they start looking in their data systems. And, we have a school that's in a pretty remote area, and they had 5 or 6, and 5 of those people are in our apprenticeship. So that's the entry criteria. The other huge difference between our apprenticeship is we are, as a state, providing the related technical instruction. So our apprentices in the special ed apprenticeship do not enroll in an EPP. They don't pay tuition. They don't have to be accepted. There are no fees, none of that. We provide the coursework, and it is online, self-paced. We do have some face-to-face opportunities in there. That related technical instruction or coursework is based on our K-12 teacher competencies and CEC standards, but we've also incorporated those things that are really important to us in Arkansas for our teachers, like inclusive practices for students with disabilities, like the science of reading, like high quality instructional materials, like high leverage practices. We have a science and a math course and an assessment course and an IEP course that these apprentices are actually going to develop an IEP through a micro-credential at the end of that course. So that's a huge difference for us. And so far, it's going really well for our apprentices in the system. Our competencies are based on our aspiring teacher rubric, like someone in a year-long residency would be evaluated or supported through. Our journey workers, we require a lead or master designation. So they have to be involved in training on coaching and giving feedback and instructional practices and working with adults. And then our progressive wage is a minimum of $15 starting pay with increments after the first semester and every year thereafter. You can go to the next slide, Miles. This slide just, I really just included it to highlight another pair. One of our apprentices and journey workers actually visited their classroom today. The apprentice is the guy with the glasses on, and his journey worker is the lady with the tan sweater. And this guy's really shy, and I was the special ed director at Bentonville. This is one of our districts, so I knew these people. But the apprentice, the gentleman in the picture, his goal this year was to become more visible in the school, people to know more about him and the things that he's doing for kids with disabilities. And he was just voted the classified staff member of the year. So, we're developing leaders through our apprenticeship for our teachers or our paraprofessionals and our journey workers. So we're really proud of him. And we've linked our guidance documents. Those are in draft form, but you can take a look at those. It's kind of a mini playbook for our apprenticeship. We will have more polished versions ready for distribution very soon, but I wanted to include them. Next slide. And this is just our contact information. So my wonderful partners who have taught me, because I came into this thinking I knew a lot about special ed, but I did not know a lot about licensure and apprenticeships and all the things. So I've learned so much from our assistant commissioner, Carly Saracini, who really was the driving force behind this work. My partner, the assistant director in educator effectiveness and licensure. We have a new person in our office who's supporting our teacher apprenticeship, our K-12 teacher doing a great job, and then myself. So I'm really thankful for all of these people. And that's all I have, David. Thank y'all for letting me speak.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lisa, and shout out to your colleagues, Carly and Melissa, and all the others, and also shout out to Carla Warren on our team and her work with you all. The thing that I just really admire about Arkansas is, and you heard it when they talked about, even when Lisa was talking about the letters approach, by becoming their own EPP, by being able to license teachers themselves, but they chose to train them because they could train them in Arkansas's values and Arkansas's priorities to ensure quality control. And so really cool work happening in Arkansas. So congratulations. With that, excited to turn it over to Connecticut Department of Education. And so Mary, I think, are you going first here, I believe, Mary
Dr.
Glassman?
Tucker. Dr.
Oh,
Tucker's
Dr.
going to kick
Tucker
us
is.
off.
All right. Great. Then Dr. Tucker, excited to have you here. And so Dr. Tucker, I turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Dave and Ben. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shawana Tucker. I'm the Chief Talent Officer at the Connecticut State Department of Education, and I have the pleasure of presenting and sharing information with you this afternoon with my colleague, Mary Glassman. And I first want to say thank you so much to the National Center for Growing Your Own for affording us this opportunity to share on this very special National Apprenticeship Day showcase and for the resources that you are providing to us as we move forward with our program. Next slide. A little bit of background regarding Connecticut's educational landscape. Even though we are a small state, we have 201 school districts, and we average right now about 1,007 to about 1,100 total vacancies within our state, where we are trying to close that gap. Our student demographic continues to change annually. We currently have 652,000 students, and our students of color now are approaching 54, almost 55% within the state. And our multilingual learners continue to increase, and we're almost at 20% in that category. Next slide. So over the past 2 years, we came together as a team and we developed what we call the Connecticut 616 pathway, educator pathway. And it's also a part of that is the apprenticeship program. So what we've done on the pathway, just to give you a little bit of background and where apprenticeship fits in, is that we have our Grow Your Own program, which is Educators Rising, which is statewide. And we start working with students in middle school as well as in high school, trying to expose them to the education profession and gain their interest in why they would want to pursue education as a career. Once you are in high school, if you are enrolled in Ed Rising, we do offer dual enrollment credit courses. You can obtain up to 9 hours of education courses in high school that are transferable to any of our community colleges and or to any of our EPPs. So you can start off and start your program and be a half of a semester ahead with 3 education courses underneath your belt. Once you transition to an EPP, we have partnered with the Aspiring Educators Program through CEA, through our union. They've been very engaged and involved with us throughout this process because we want to ensure that our students still have the resources that they need as they transition into their EPP or into a community college. The coursework begins, and then as early as sophomore year, they may apply and be a part of what we call the Next Gen Educator Program. That program in sophomore year, the students must apply and they are selected by a district to work 2.5 days per week within a school district, and they are paid the substitute rate. So they are actually learning, they're obtaining experience at the same time while they are enrolled in their EPP program. Junior year, the EPP coursework begins. You can have another next gen placement, so that actually gives you 2 years of working within the next gen program. But junior year is more like what we would call a pre-apprenticeship. And by the time you are a senior in that fall semester, that is when you start your final year as an apprentice, and you are paid for your student teaching. And you are gaining that additional experience on your own. So you've actually had an opportunity to spend 3 years working within a specific school district. And I want to back up and point out 2 other things. We have started with a teacher apprenticeship. We would like to expand in the future, but right now we're focusing on honing in on the teacher apprenticeship because we've only been at this now about maybe 18 months. So we're growing and we're learning in the process. Also, we do offer a scholarship in the state of Connecticut called the Aspiring Educator Scholarship, which helps to break down financial barriers for many of our students who are graduating from high school and are advising if you are entering an EPP and you are pursuing a career in education, we provide up to $10,000 per year scholarship if you are graduating from an Alliance school district within the state. Next slide. So we have prioritized our goals, and everything that we are doing is strictly aligned with one of the goals within our State Board of Education strategic plan on diversification and addressing the teacher shortage. So I've kind of already spoken a little bit about the middle and high school students with the opportunities and dual credit courses. I've spoken a little bit about next gen educators. What I want to do before I transition to my colleague is share that we have two models of an apprentice teacher apprenticeship. We have this model through the next gen when someone is enrolled in an EPP program. We also have a registered program focusing on those that have completed their bachelor's and are working in school districts, which is more of a residency program. So those are the two pathways within our state that you can pursue as an apprentice. Next slide. Our apprenticeship expansion for 25-26, we started in January of 2024 with one district, one EPP, and one apprentice. We grew this past fall to two districts, two EPPs, and 8. And we're very pleased to say that for the 25-26 school year, that is our large expansion. We dedicated some of our ARPA funds to support this. We will be working with 7 districts, 5 EPPs, and a total of 54 apprentices. Next slide. And now I'll turn it over to my colleague, Mary Glassman.
Thank you, Dr. Tucker. And let me add my thanks to National Center for Grow Your Own for this opportunity today, and also for all your support in helping us get off the ground. I'm going to very quickly expand on what Dr. Tucker said. I think what makes Connecticut different is we were one of the first states to not only partner with our school systems, our educator prep programs, and our apprentices, but we also partner with our teacher unions. So we have 2 statewide teacher unions in Connecticut. And because this was a new program, it took a little time for us to work out the details of and working with our Connecticut Department of Labor, which was very helpful, to explain this new program. But I have to say that our unions have been very supportive. And the president of one of our unions is now chairing our Joint Apprenticeship Training Council. So we see a lot of potential going forward. Next slide. Dr. Tucker started talking to you about the Next Gen Educator Program, which is our bachelor's degree program. This program was instrumental in helping us get through COVID, where our students would help districts and they would be in the classroom. And what we found working with our EPP partners is that, the earlier students can get into the classroom, the earlier they can see themselves being a teacher, that they can decide what grade they want to teach, and they have that experience. So we think that will lead to better teacher retention. Next slide. Our post-bac program is working with the teacher residency program. It's a certificate pathway. It also, you're eligible for, I think what makes it also different in our legislature in Connecticut passed the pathway that if you graduate from an apprenticeship program, you don't have to take tests, that the district can certify that you have your initial certification. So I think this is a big difference between many other programs that are offered in Connecticut. We have alternative route to certification, we have traditional programs, but I think that this is one of the opportunities that distinguish the apprenticeship program with our other programs that are offered in Connecticut. Next slide. Money. How do we pay for teacher apprenticeships? So we've tried to be very creative, working with our district partners, and we're working with our EPPs. What makes us a little different is our Connecticut Department of Labor has opted, because of the software program, has opted not to tap into some of the federal funding at this point. So we've become a little more creative and looking at ARPA funding, which was very helpful to get us off the ground, state support, Title II funding, IDEA. And we also have a unique program in Connecticut where there's an alliance district. If you're one of identified alliance districts in our state, you get a 10% set aside to focus on using the funds to support residencies, apprenticeships, and other programs to grow your own. So that is another source of funding that can help districts address their teacher shortage, diversify their workforce, and to attract potential grow your own students. So we look forward to hearing your questions, and we've put our contact information in the chat.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Tucker and Mary, for sharing the great work happening in Connecticut. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out Jessica, Ashley, and Jade on your team as well. And then, Mary, you referenced Todd Birch, your labor colleagues. I love the Next Gen program. Couldn't agree more with the both of you that the earlier exposure and more time practicing in the classroom, the better. We know this, and that's what makes apprenticeships so great. With that said, excited to had a great time. Ben and I got to visit Lincoln, Nebraska, and Omaha actually on our last trip to Nebraska, and Nebraska's got some great stuff happening. So I'm going to turn it over to our dear friend Kelly. Kelly, please take it away.
Thanks, David. And on behalf of the Nebraska Department of Education team, we'd like to wish everyone a happy Apprenticeship Day. We know that there's so much important work going on in all the states that are involved in teacher apprenticeship. So, and you've heard about some of the states already. I am very fortunate to be one of 3 at the Nebraska Department of Education that is a part of the educator apprenticeship team. I'm the partnership specialist here. And we also have Keisha King. I'm very fortunate to work alongside her. She's our educator apprenticeship program specialist, and then also Cole Brady, who's our program associate. So wanted to talk about one of the things that we feel sets Nebraska apart. If you want to go ahead and go to the next slide, from some of the other states is we're able to address the chronic teacher shortage that our Nebraska schools are facing with the braided funding strategy. And if you look at the timeline, you can see that the Nebraska Department of Education has been able to leverage state and federal dollars in order to launch our Nebraska Teacher Apprenticeship Program. And we were able to do that in March of 2024. And we're continuing to grow and to expand the program with our 3-year competitive SAFE funding. And we were asked to speak briefly on some of the successes that we've seen in the program. And we have finished now our round 1 and round 2 funding. And if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide, I highlighted some of the successes from our round 1 and round 2 funding. But what I really want to focus on, and I think you've heard this said again and again and again from each state and from David, that the common theme that we're learning as we are working to expand teacher apprenticeship in Nebraska is building strong partnerships is the foundation to the success of any teacher apprenticeship program. And we are so thankful to National Center Grow Your Own for coming along beside us and guiding us and directing us as we are learning from states that have gone before us and states that are continuing to continuing this process and just getting started in the process. Like David said, you can learn whether it's what you should do or what maybe you shouldn't do, you can learn from anybody. And so we've been very fortunate to be able to be a part of the network and listen to the different states, but also Departments of Labor has been a very strong partnership for us, the U.S. Department of Labor and the Nebraska Department of Labor, again, the foundation of our program. And we are very fortunate here in that our team has been federally funded. And I've already spoke about the 2 different sources of funding, which is kind of unique in Nebraska and from other states, is we have our U.S. Department of Labor, who's award us with the SAFE grant, and then also the $1 million annually that our state legislator has awarded us. All of this has put the final piece on the top, which is that we're able to support and help place over 180 apprentices into classrooms across Nebraska in order to create and produce quality teachers in the classroom. And so what I really want to focus on is just that today is a day of celebration, but we should celebrate every day. It's about partnership. And we're so thankful that we have 8 educator preparation providers who have chosen to be a part of teacher apprenticeship in Nebraska. Those providers have partnered with over 47 school districts or non-public schools across Nebraska, and those schools are really supporting those apprentices in that they provide that mentor teacher who will come alongside them to help guide them and train them. And I, as a former teacher, wish that I would have been able to be a part of an apprenticeship program. I think the hands-on learning along with the coursework that becomes real relevant when you're in the classroom and you're able to use that lesson plan or to talk about classroom management and actually go and see different strategies that the teachers have in your school district. I think today is also a day that we can really celebrate, like I said, the aspiring teachers who are working so hard in the classroom. It's difficult to juggle all of life's responsibilities, but when you're trying to work your full-time job and you're completing your coursework, celebrating the apprentices today is fitting, as they deserve so much for all the hard work they put into it. And then finally, we want to celebrate, as we look to the future, the fact that we can alleviate this teacher shortage and help with retention through this program. We want to make sure that we can celebrate in the future that these apprentices will be stepping into the classroom as confident teachers, ready and prepared to make a difference in the lives of children. And so I think that's really something that we can celebrate. And I wanted to focus on just thinking about the day and all the hard work that our partners have put into making teacher apprenticeship in the United States and in so many states innovative and special way to step into a classroom and be fully prepared and ready to go.
Well, thank you so much, Kelly, and thanks to the Nebraska Department of Education. I think it's just a great example of what happens, to your point about partnerships and celebrating. State legislature put money behind this. You get a federal grant, and it's incredible. When good people come together, the impact it can have, and credit for the quick growth of the program. Also, special shout out to our friends Lane and Jessica, your colleagues as well. Next up, and I do want to use my privilege of being the host of this webinar to say, with the North Dakota Department of Public Instruction, that the National Center for Grow Your Own would not exist if it wasn't for North Dakota, because they gave us our first contract. When we launched, it was, by we, I mean me, myself, and I on a couch. It took 6 months to get our first contract, and North Dakota believed in us and took a chance. So I have a special place in my heart for Lori Matsky and Superintendent Baszler and Becky Pitkin and Lynn Hammonds over there. So Lori, thank you, and so it's incredible to see 3 years later where we're at. So I'm so excited for you to share. So Lori, let me turn it over to you.
Thanks, David. And I'm sure everyone would agree with me that we're so glad that we did, because we've all benefited from your assistance over the past several years. Good afternoon, everyone. Lori Matsky. I am the Chief of Program Development and Growth in North Dakota. And as I'm sure comes as no surprise to all of you, it is very difficult to recruit educators to the rural and isolated areas of North Dakota. And so we have just really embraced the whole grow your own concept, where the districts can find people within their community and then cultivate and help them grow into these roles, because that's been a very beneficial way for us to recruit in North Dakota. North Dakota does have 2 grow your own teacher programs. And I want to give a shout out to Dr. Lynn Hammond, who manages one of them, our registered teacher apprenticeship program. But today I am going to highlight 2 other programs, 2 other grow your own programs we have, a registered principal apprenticeship program, and hopefully very soon, a registered lead teacher apprenticeship program. So I will begin first with our registered principal apprenticeship program. So in July of 2023, North Dakota became the first state in the nation to have a registered principal apprenticeship program. And I need to give a huge shout out and kudos to David and his team at the National Center for Grow Your Own, who helped us create a registered principal apprenticeship playbook. And so if anyone out there is interested in creating a registered principal apprenticeship program, the playbook will really just kind of walk you through it step by step, provide resources. And so I know David will be sharing all of these slides from all of the presentations today, and you can access the playbook on his website or through the slide, but it really does serve as a guide for others who are wanting to create their own program. So we don't actually use any U.S. Department of Labor dollars. We do have them for our registered teacher apprenticeship program, but we're using Title II dollars to fund our registered principal apprenticeship program. To date, we have done 2 rounds. Our first round, NDSU, are partnering with 3 school districts. And what's really nice is we have a very large district, a medium-sized district, and a small one. So it really shows that, this model can be replicated in any size district. And they have 11 apprentices. And then our second one at UND, they're partnering with 4 school districts, and they have 10 apprentices. And I know a common question throughout is, what kind of positions are typically part of this work? And so oftentimes they are assistant principals, dean of students, a lot of instructional coaches, special education directors. Those are the types of positions that kind of gravitate to this role. We also worked with CCSSO to generate some resources. So when you get access to the slides, you can click there and access a brief, a blog, and a video. And so it kind of highlights and talks about our program and just shares some information and resources. So that's just a little bit about our principal program. The other one I would like to highlight today is a lead teacher initiative that we have been working on. So in February of this year, 2025, we applied to the U.S. Department of Labor for a new lead teacher apprenticeship. Superintendent Basler has been very supportive in North Dakota of the next education workforce and their use of strategic staffing models. And as David mentioned, they're going to be doing a webinar soon on that. But for the last couple of years, we have had a partnership with them and have been working to infuse this strategic staffing model within our schools in North Dakota. And so we're partnering with David at the National Center for Grow Your Own and ASU, and we secured a grant for about $140,000 through the Bergam Foundation as kind of seed money to get us going. We're partnering with 2 pilot districts. And again, what's really nice is we have a very large urban school district with Fargo, and then a smaller rural district with Northern Cass. And so we do have lots of resources available on our lead teacher website if you're interested in this model. We have a Q&A, we have a 1-pager, we have sample job descriptions, PowerPoints. So there's lots of resources there. And so we're working with ASU to develop modules, and then all of the lead teachers in these 2 pilot districts are going to be going through training this summer, and then we'll go into full implementation mode in the fall of 2025. And so we anxiously are awaiting approval from the U.S. Department of Labor for our lead teacher apprenticeship, so we can go full force in implementing this model throughout the next school year. We're also going to be working on a lead teacher playbook. And so for anyone who's interested in replicating this work, there'll be a guide coming soon that can help you throughout that process. So that's a lot of information, very quick time frame, but just a little bit of information about 2 Grow Your Own programs in North Dakota. Thanks, David.
Well, thank you so much, Lori. We appreciate it. And also, for those who may not know, Superintendent Baszler is the nominee for Assistant Secretary at Department of Ed. And so we're just excited to see North Dakota continue to do amazing work in its state and get acknowledgement from a national level, because we're very excited to have supporters of teacher and principal registered apprenticeships in DC. And with that, excited now to give a shout out to and turn it over to our friends at Virginia Department of Education. I know we'll be joined by Chief Jeremy Raley, Assistant Super Rob Gilstrap, and I do want to, even though not presenting today, want to give a special shout out to Shauna LeBlond there as well. So Chief Raley, or Dr. Raley, let me turn it over to you.
Yeah, well, thank you, David, for the opportunity to share a little bit about what we're doing here in Virginia. Really proud of the work that we're doing, not only with teacher registered apprenticeship programs, principals as well. We're really focused now on pre-apprenticeship opportunities to get children in high school excited about a career in teaching and hopefully have the opportunity to return them back to their home communities as a teacher 2 years post-graduation. And then we're working now on developing a paraprofessional apprenticeship program. So pretty excited about what we're doing from a comprehensive approach. I only wish, as a former superintendent and principal, that I would have had the vision to do this when I was a practitioner in a local school district, but thankful that we have the opportunity to support our school divisions here in Virginia with a variety of opportunities to grow a pipeline of talent in their local school division. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Rob Gilstrap, who's our Assistant Superintendent for Human Capital, to dig in a little bit more on the work that we're doing here in Virginia.
Thanks, Dr. Raley. And I would be remiss if I didn't also thank David and his team for all the work that they put in to help us get to where we are in this process. Beyond working with David and his team, I would also, if I didn't say something about Shauna LeBlond, our Director of Apprenticeships, I would be in big trouble as well. It does take a strong team to accomplish some of the things that we've been working on. It also takes strong leadership, and we've had that, and a governor who would support these actions. So it's not just an office that does this, it's an entire agency. And in our case, it's actually multiple agencies. We started this trek with the ESSER money that everybody was using coming out of the pandemic, knowing that it would soon run out. But back then we were looking and focusing mainly on our teacher apprenticeship model, but we found that there was a commonality, a common position that really was a key hinge for us to be successful, and that is with our paras. And I'll talk about that just a second, but just to let you know, we also, as in Nebraska, received SAFE grant money, and we received $6 million in that money. And with that money, we've done 4 different focal points of attack. One of them was our teacher apprenticeship. We continued that from the ESSER money, and we were focusing on those that already had an associate's degree so that they could go from associate's degree to a bachelor program. Those apprenticeships were employed as full-time paraprofessionals working under the guidance of a mentor teacher while working towards their bachelor's degree and full licensure. And so when I say the para is a key element, without having paras that are in a good position for that, we cannot move forward much with our teacher apprenticeship model. And also, like I believe it was North Dakota that just said that they do a principal apprenticeship, we also, with our ESSER money, are targeting a 1 or 2 year program for aspiring principals so that they can earn their credentials needed to be a full-time principal of record. We also try to make sure that they can be employed by the division and working towards proficiency on the job through the competencies of a principal on a full-time basis and under a guidance of a mentor. Our third program, which is one Dr. Rayleigh mentioned just a second ago, was our teacher pre-apprenticeship one. And there are multiple states that are doing this with the Teachers for Tomorrow or Educator Rising program. And we have found that taking high school students and exposing them to a broad array of pre-teaching experiences has really ignited some of our students, and it's generating a big interest at our education preparation programs. But we've also guided them into the paraprofessional so that when they finish the program, not only are they ready to go into their education program, but they can also work if they choose, because they've already passed the paraprofessional praxis exam during their pre-apprenticeship time. But what I would say is the most exciting part for me, I actually got to give a little pushback on David on this. When I first met David, one of the things he talked about was his mom, and how his mom was an inspiration for him in education, how she worked within the school and would have been probably one of the best teachers he probably would have known had she had some of these opportunities. And when he said that, it really gave me a focal point on it's the paras. That's where the key is for us. If we want to generate more teachers, we have to be able to recruit to and strengthen our para programs across the state. And so in our model, we take entry-level paras, train them under a mentor para, which is something that really doesn't exist it hasn't existed prior to this. We classify them and compensate them at a higher level. And in that entry-level para, they work towards proficiencies in a set of paraprofessional competencies while they're working towards the associate's degree in Associates of Arts in Teaching. The fun part, or the best part about this, is we're doing this in partnership with our school divisions. Our school divisions, Virginia Works and Virginia Department of Education, are working to design and develop the competencies that we feel strengthen the work of a para and help them grow into either a master para or a teacher down the road. We formalize the leadership roles for experienced paraprofessionals, and divisions can also enhance the workforce retention and instructional quality and career progression if they focus on the paras. I've already said that the goal for them is to go on to the Associate Arts of Teaching, but at VDOE, we believe that high quality paraprofessional development and well-structured career ladders are essential to strengthen the educator workforce pipeline. Paras are our untapped resources for our schools, and they are essential to student learning, classroom management, and individualized support for students. And in investing in their growth and valuing their skills and experiences is critical to our overall retention of paraprofessionals and the development of our teachers. One of the things I want to also mention is that with this development of the master paraprofessional, there is a pathway where if you go into the para world, you can continue to grow throughout your career if you chose not to go on to be teachers. And having that as an asset inside of a school is that dream that all superintendents would have, to have a powerful, strong para workforce, a powerful, strong teacher workforce, and of course, their administrative workforce, which we in Virginia are working towards all of those. David, I'll turn it back over to you so that we can answer some of the questions that might have come up.
Yeah, so Rob, thanks for helping me come up with a Mother's Day gift, because I'll be able to send part of your the recording to my mom. She'll appreciate the shout out. And we just couldn't agree more with Virginia's philosophy that paraprofessionals are, I mean, my God, what more do you need? They're, working for, in most cases, a half or a third of teacher pay. What more commitment do they need to show to folks that they're dedicated to the community? And frankly, it's our belief, and I will not speak for any state, but I think the state's actions show this, that it's not a matter of skill, will, or intelligence. It's usually a financial barrier that prevents them. So Virginia, congratulations on the comprehensive nature of your work. And I remember when your governor signed an executive order saying we're going to do this work. Pretty cool to see. So really, really cool things happening. So thank you, Rob. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Shauna, and all that's happening in Virginia. I do recognize we're over time. And so I recognize if any of our panelists have to go, we totally respect that. We'll stay on for just a little bit to take a couple questions, but again, I don't want to hold anybody accountable to that. Um, uh, Actually, some of the Q&A is just nice comments. Say thanks to the USDOL. There's some USDOL OA directors in here and deputy directors and other regional folks. Really cool to see. Also, folks are getting a shout out for providing pathways to paras. I think what we'll go with here is just I'll just ask for the sake of the group, what gives you hope about this work, like a year from now? Like, where do you think it can go? Like, I can't stress enough how much you all have done in just the last year, let alone 2 years. Like, it's incredible. So maybe the best way to say is this: our next conference, January 28th to the 30th. What will be true in Virginia, in Alaska, in these states? And I'm actually going to start with Virginia because I think that's only fair. We'll do reverse alphabetical order. So Rob and Jeremy, anything you care to say? What do you believe will be true when you present at our conference in early 2026?
I'll go ahead unless Jeremy, you want to jump in. All right, thank you. I think one of the things Jeremy put in there that we have our first class of teacher apprenticeships graduating today, and they're being honored today at Radford University. So if you were asking me what's going to be like when we're in January, number one, we'll have a parapro playbook. That's kind of hard to say if you say it too fast. And this whole pipeline will have some momentum. We'll have the teachers going out of the teacher apprenticeship program, the new paras going into that program, and new paras coming in with the excitement of our para apprenticeship program. So I think that it's going to show momentum, and momentum is what we need to solve this teacher situation that we have. Is we need momentum at every state level.
Yeah, love that. I do not understand when people criticize incremental progress. It's all about, am I 1% better than I was, or, so I love it. Like, how do you eat a horse, or sorry, elephant, one bite at a time. So yeah, awesome. I love that. North Dakota, Lori.
Well, with our state and federal registered teacher apprenticeship program, in a year, hopefully the 500 new teachers that are going to be coming out of those two programs are going to hopefully be making a dent in our teacher shortage. And then hopefully we'll have 50 lead teacher apprentices in another year once we get approval. And that's our strategy for retaining those teachers, because that team-based model just really provides that support that's needed. So that's our hope in another year.
Yeah, I love that. It just so happens Virginia and North Dakota both have plans for new playbooks as well. So continuing to share lessons learned with the rest of the country as well. Kelly, it's perfect to go to you because you have focus on today as a celebration. Dr. Rayleigh shared, that they just had their first cohort graduate today. What will be true in Nebraska when you're presenting next year in New Orleans?
I think that the hope, I was thinking exactly kind of along the same lines as Lori, is that when we start seeing these apprentices actually become teachers and step into the classroom for the first time, that they're going to feel very, very, very confident that they've seen so many strategies that teachers have used in the actual classroom with their hands-on learning that they receive, that I'm hoping, as Lori is saying, that because they're, and it goes back to what Rob was mentioning, because they're already in these schools, that they're invested and they're embedded employees. My hope is that we will see teachers who are staying in the classroom and not leaving within a few years, because it has changed. When I became a teacher, my thought was, I'm going to retire as a teacher, and I did that. But nowadays, a teacher will start, and within a few years, we're seeing teachers leave the classroom. And so my hope is that we will see these apprentices stay in a classroom and hopefully in the state of Nebraska, at least the ones that we're investing in.
Yeah, that's right. I remember when people used to laugh when we would say our goal is to eliminate the concept of a first year teacher. And I think states, the states here on this webinar and states across the country are actually proving that it's possible. It's true. You've proven that you can remove financial barriers, and now we're proving this. And then you hear things like with the principal apprenticeship, focus on retention as well. But these folks are going to be so prepared. And so thinking of so prepared, Connecticut in the next gen model. So Mary, I'll turn it over to you, and if Dr. Tucker's still with you. But what do you believe will be true a year from now in Connecticut? What are you going to be presenting on at our national convening next year?
We're going to be celebrating student success. We have our first Ed Rising student. We started Ed Rising 4 years ago, and our first student is graduated and is now going to get a master's in education. And we have our first teacher apprentice who's graduating. And for students to stand up and say, I never thought of myself being a teacher until the financial barriers were removed, and until you showed me how this was a career that was a great career for me. So, we just have a little incremental success, but, we're seeing more than 800 students in our Ed Rising program. We're going to be pumping out those teachers and some students who never thought of themselves being able to afford to be a teacher or who saw themselves as a career as a teacher.
Yeah, it's a pretty good feeling when you can help make people's dreams possible. And what better dream or career than being a teacher? Thank you for sharing that, Mary. We appreciate it. Next up, Arkansas. Lisa, I'll turn it to you. What will be true a year from now in Arkansas?
Well, one of the things that that we think is one of the most important components of the apprenticeship to get right is the mentor journey worker. And so in Arkansas, we're really working on ways to boost that support and provide more structure for those journey workers. I think we will have an added layer of support through our state mentoring specialists, because we're kind of changing up the way we do mentoring in general in Arkansas. Everyone will be required, all of our graduates from traditional programs will be required to go through year-long residencies in 26, 27, and the whole mentoring thing is going to be revamped a little bit. But I think that's what we'll see. And I see the successes are like the school I visited today. It just renews your energy because their journey workers are so strong, and they're just so proud of what their apprentices are doing, and it shows. They're flourishing under that partnership. So that's what I think we'll be talking about.
I love that. That journey worker, the mentor-mentee relationship, it's the make or break of any teacher apprenticeship program. So I love the focus on that. Excited. I can't wait to sit in on your presentation then at our conference next year for that. And also Connecticut, I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out the Educators Rising, and great organization. And James Lane is a friend of ours. And so just awesome to hear about the cohort there graduating and things of that nature. And so now let me turn it over. Actually, it's kind of interesting that Arkansas talked about mentoring, because that's something that Kelly had shared with Alaska in the cultural context. But Kelly, what in Alaska, what do you desire to be true a year from now? What will you be presenting on next year with Monica and company?
Yeah, thank you. I think I would second some things that other folks have said, but the two that kind of struck for me was Rob talking about momentum for Virginia. We're coming out of our pilot. We're seeing a lot more districts join on. We're seeing a lot more interest and engagement around apprenticeship in general. And so that momentum is really picking up and the ball is rolling. So that's exciting. And I look forward to talking about how that momentum continues to grow. And then, Kelly in Nebraska was speaking about retention, and that's been at the heart of our conversations. We've grounded that in the center of our conversation around principal apprenticeship, but it's a part of why we're talking about cultural context. It's a part of why mentorship has been a big part of our conversation for Alaska. And so really thinking about not just how can we fill teaching seats, but how can we fill teaching seats with people that really want to stay in the profession and want to commit to being in their community. So those are two things that I heard others speak about that. I think strike a chord for Alaska and where we're looking forward.
Yeah, that Kelly, I couldn't agree more in that. That's what makes apprenticeship so powerful. That's employer driven. When the employers pick the person and they know, look, teachers know who they want to be their coworker. So they know who can cut it or not because teachers are sick and tired of using their planning period to cover for another thing or whatever it may be. And so when we pull from the paraprofessionals, when we pull from those who we know has good positive relationships with kids, and again, not skill, will, or intelligence, it's solely a financial barrier. Kelly, you and the other 5 states here are showing what's possible. And so we really appreciate all of that. Also, because I had told all of you we'd be done at 4 o'clock. And because you all work in government and I do not, when we're in New Orleans, I owe you all a shrimp po' boy. If you choose to also have a beverage with that, water, of course, we will cover that as well. But so shrimp po' boy, and I believe that's under the gift acceptance rate that probably all your states have. So spoken like a true former state education official. Ben always tells the story about in Tennessee, you had to take a test that would actually ask you, like, it's Thanksgiving. A legislature offers you a turkey. Can you take it or not? It was like one of our favorite question that you'd always get about government ethics. Clearly, I'm off topic now, which means we definitely should end this. And so with that said, here's our contact information. Thank you so much to all the states presenting today, all the states that attended, U.S. Department of Labor, our state apprenticeship agency fans, and anyone that is working to remove barriers for aspiring educators. We thank you for what you do. Happy National Apprenticeship Day. I can't wait till next year when it goes back to be, a full week and all the celebrations we'll be able to continue to have because that incremental progress adds up fast. And I love the momentum that's happening. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Take care now. Bye-bye.